I've got Tom Kerber here
Yes.
from
Kerber Applied Research, Kerber USA.
yeah,
SunPowerLED.
SunPowerLED that we have here today.
Yeah.
And we talk about, so tell us a little bit about the red, infrared, near infrared light we've got going here.
Okay, so the red light can go deep into through the skin and deeper into the blood work, and it gets absorbed by the blood, and that helps pour energy into the cells. And there's also the wavelengths of near infrared, which you can still see some of those wavelengths, and they penetrate much deeper than the red, the bright red.
Yeah, and so all the research that I'm looking at too, they're measuring the light in weight, like in nanometers.
Right,
in weight.
right.
So there's very specific
Yes.
light frequencies.
Yeah,
that they use.
yeah.
Tell
So
us
it's
about-
very interesting. Like one thing would be ultraviolet B. Everybody needs vitamin D production. You can't be on the other side of a window and get 1 microgram of vitamin D produced. You have to be on the other side of the window, outside in the sun, and the wavelengths are 297 nanometer plus or minus 10 nanometer. If you're outside of that, you won't create anything any. So you have to be outside for vitamin D. This is that's in the ultraviolet spectrum. All this equipment is on the opposite end of the rainbow in the red and near infrared. You keep going further that way and it's far infrared. Far infrared is what you get into saunas and that. Heats up the skin, but there's not much penetration. It's more shallow stuff. So that red
The
is...
infrared?
Yeah, far infrared does not penetrate. So I have a device that I developed 15 years ago called the Genesis Health Light. The water in your skin absorbs the far infrared, so there's no penetration. But the problem was, when I built my first light, or wanted to try and build my first light that would penetrate and do treatments, if I took a halogen bulb, one of those old 50 watt halogen bulb, and brought it close to your skin, you'd burn your skin in no time.
Yeah.
If you put just a very thin layer of water, a couple millimeters thick, it'll absorb all of the far infrared. So the water in your skin absorbs the far infrared, and I got patents on that. But the far infrared, it just heats up the surface skin. That's why you feel it just like that. If you go into Home Depot, you feel that hot bar in the ceiling, that's instant, because it's immediately heating up the surface skin. No depth. But when it comes to near infrared and red, that's wavelengths from 630 approximately all the way up to 1300 nanometer can penetrate the skin. Beyond that, it gets absorbed by that layer of water. And that's basically what I did with my first product. Genesis Health Light was a device that could treat people with light, and the filter that I used filtered out all the heat from that beam. So now I could put that 50 watt focused light on your elbow and improve this thing. So that goes back 15 years ago. LEDs were very, very expensive at that time.
Okay, so all this great light, what's it doing?
Okay, what's it doing? So what the light is doing is it's going into the cells. It'd be much like a tree. A tree can absorb certain wavelengths of light in the leaves and convert that photo energy into energy for the plant. Our bodies, amazingly enough, can absorb light too, in that red and near infrared spectrum, and also the UV, but in that case it's extremely shallow. But red and near infrared can penetrate. So what it does is, when you have an injury, say you have a bum wrist that's really painful, the blood flow to that area is really restricted. So that's one thing. That also means that the inflammation that's occurring there can't leave, because the lymphatic system is not working properly. You take light and you put it on that spot, and what'll happen is it'll increase the capillary size. That's just one thing. It does a whole host of things, which means that now the blood can go in and the toxins can leave and the swelling can go down. So literally in like, people have seen 20 minutes, a knee or an ankle from being whatever injury with lots of swelling shrink, just because it's opened up the pathways for that to happen. That's just one of the reactions. There's a whole area of the mitochondria in the cell. So the mitochondria in the cell can absorb that wavelength. And the mitochondria is the power plant of the cell. So anywhere in the body where there's a mitochondria, you can help. So in other words, from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, light can make a difference.
Okay.
So that mitochondria is in the cells anywhere there's a cell. So what we're doing with light is we're pouring energy into the cell and feeding it. So when an injury occurs, these cells end up being starved. So how well do you work if you barely ate anything for 3 weeks? You're not going to work very good. You're not going to think very good. You're not going to, you're not going to be able to do a lot of labor. But if you're fully fed every day, three meals a day or whatever, you're topped up, you're ready, you got all the energy to do the job. Same thing with the cells. So when you put the light on that area, the cells can absorb it, and it's like pouring high octane fuel right into the cells directly. So that supports the cells to repair, to heal, to do all sorts of things. So diabetic ulcers, to brain injuries, everything in between, light can make a difference.
So what do we have here?
Okay, so I have a mini version, as you've seen. This does anywhere in the body. When it's mini,
I have a sore wrist.
well, there you go. So you just you treat yourself like that. This can go right against the skin. It was designed in such a way that it won't overheat. It won't overheat the surface. It stays cool enough, but there's quite a bit of energy. Mm-hmm. You do about 2 minutes in that area because of how deep you're talking with the red, and maybe 4 minutes of the near infrared, which is the other wavelength. And so if you put it down here while we're talking, you'll see a difference. I'm positive, even in 6 minutes.
Put it on here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then,
and should I be flipping the switch to go?
Yeah, in about 2 minutes.
You'll tell me.
Yeah, so we'll kind of try and do that.
There you
so for problems with the brain, we're talking Alzheimer's, dementia, strokes, concussions, and the list goes on and on and on. You can do the same thing. You can encourage the blood flow through the brain, which is extremely important, and you can also help the toxins be removed from the area, which is huge to restoring the brain function. And sometimes they're just give me a little bit more energy. I could do what I need to do, and they're starving. And you come along with a light like this, and they're all of a sudden able to do beautiful things. Like
how's it work on sinuses?
helps with helps with sinuses and all any type. We've even been able to see seniors actually help their eyesight by using the light technology. What you're talking about, you close your eyelids, and there's a treatment that short treatment that you use the light with, and help the eyes. So people with floaters and stuff that because of have been able to see better. So
Well,
this
thing's pretty exciting when you turn it on.
this is the helmet. We'll just make sure we got enough wire here.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
I got all kinds of different
All right.
cables here. Hold on.
There we go. Oh, okay.
My thing, let me move that.
All right. If we move that, we're going to have all the success in the world here. There we go.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
we were kind of set up for me.
Yeah. Well, we'll get it on your head. We got to give you full power here.
Okay, let's go.
So it has two wavelengths. It has the 660 nanometer wavelength. So that's the bright one that you're seeing right now. And this has a stand on it that normally we don't have the stand in this room, but this gives me the one wavelength of light, which can go through the skull. There's no problem going through the skull. I did light measurements a long time ago. That's probably about 13, 14 years ago, on red light going through fat tissue. So it turns out the light can go through the skull easier than it can breast tissue. So that's the red, so it can go through the skull and into the other side and improve the blood flow on the inside of the skull as well. Now, the other wavelength is 810 nanometer. Now, depending on the cameras, you may be able to see that, you may not, depending on how good the filtering is on it. The better the camera.
Can you see the little red light?
Probably nothing? No, because you got good cameras, and which you guys obviously have, filter away all the near infrared so you get a clearer picture. You don't want near infrared in pictures, but you do want it when you're trying to treat something.
Yeah.
So now we'll flip it over to the other wavelength just like that, and now that wavelength is something that penetrates even deeper. And so it can get through beyond the blood and go right to the joint. So people can treat their hip or knee or like right into the center of the joint. So if sciatic hip pain, that kind of thing. Whether it's you know, deeper into like starting to get into the organs, that light can help. So when I had COVID, I had my son recognized that Dad wasn't thinking clearly anymore. And he took me to the hospital, and just before I went in, I did the blood oxygen on my finger, and I was at 80. That's not good. That's borderline, you know, death kind of thing. Could go wrong very quickly. I went into the hospital, and they did this x-rays on my lungs, and they said, you have double lung pneumonia, and you're in bad shape. And the best thing that happened is they kicked me out of the hospital for other reasons. So I was able to use that light here on my lungs and treat back and front. And in 2.5 weeks, I started coughing really bad. Now, I didn't understand all of the medical nuances of what happens, but my lungs were trying to clear is what was going on. But I wasn't still connecting. Brain wasn't working where it was. So what happened is they did another set of x-rays, and they did all the blood work and everything. They said, your blood is great, your heart is good, but your lungs are exceptional. And because they were comparing the x-rays from 2.5 weeks earlier. Unfortunately, they weren't interested in why.
Right.
But this is the light here.
And
so
what's that one? Explain that.
this is the same. Yeah, so this is the same as this light here, only there's 15 times the area, 15 times the power. So it has like 15 of these units in here. So this is the 660 nanometer.
Yeah.
And you can have that treated fairly close to the skin within an inch or 2.5 centimeters. And this has the near infrared, which again, probably your camera cannot pick up.
See it with the eye, yeah.
You can see it with the eye, but you can't see it with the camera. We also have the wavelength of, well, actually, I can convert it pretty easy. Let's do it this way. Just do the camera. And there's the camera. So we'll do this. Now, because it's converted, you probably are seeing that.
Yeah.
So it turns out that one of my other lights, let's see which one, you flip it over so I can see the front. Yeah, that happens to be the 1050 nanometer. Notice you don't see any light whatsoever.
Oh.
Okay, that's...
So is it just 1050?
No, this is working. This is 1050.
No, but is there 8?
No, not on this version. 810 would be
yeah.
this wavelength.
Right.
Okay, this happens to be our best model called the Super Palm. So if I show it to the camera again, you can't see it.
Yeah.
All you can see is the one red indicator.
That's right.
But neither can I see it, nobody else can. But if I take my camera, you can see the, again, the, so there you go. So you can see the light coming through. That's the 1050 nanometer that you're seeing there. So 810, you don't, well, your camera can't see it, but continue on that treatment there. Okay. So that's how the different wavelengths that we've been able to make, whether small helmet size, which is basically 10 of these, this one here, which is flat, 15 of these, and then we have a big canopy version that's 6 of these.
Wow. And
it draws all the power you can get from a single outlet, and absolutely beautiful being underneath it. It feels like you're on a summer beach. And
so where are you going with all this? Is there plans? Are you dreaming about?
So I do have, presently I have sales in US and Canada and other parts of the world. Matter of fact, we just sent one of these helmets to Australia. We've sent a number of different users to India, to different other locations. But a lot of sales in the US and Canada. We got Kerber USA for the US. And that's where we supply all the units from a Buffalo location.
Is that where you where do you manufacture?
Manufacturing is actually here in Canada, and then we do final assembly in Buffalo to look after the requirements for FDA and that. So,
Yes.
yeah. So we have FDA registration for these things. So.
And Health Canada.
Yeah, Health Canada is something that someday I'll work on, but at present it's not in the. There's quite a bit of cost to doing that, and I've gone through that before. A long time ago, so not so interested that way. But
So what else do you have to say about light? As I say, for me, it's sound and light and geometry.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's really neat. This is a part of energy medicine that Tesla was involved with, and when you can use light to penetrate into the body and give energy to the cells, like the amazing things that we've been able to see. For diabetic ulcers, people that are ready, their foot is ready for amputation. We've had several cases, but one in particular comes to mind in Alberta. This woman was going to have her foot amputated. They had already scheduled the surgery. I have the video, the pictures downstairs, and the foot looks absolutely awful from the around the ankle. And so they said there's nothing more they could do. And they raced one of these lights in, the kids did. I say kids, they're 50s. And they got the light in there, and her mom was using it daily. And 1 week, they canceled the surgery. And 2 months later, it was down to like a quarter, the opening. And then another 2 months, she walked out of the hospital. So, we've seen that. 2 injuries. One of the kids, 19-year-old, took a pickaxe and he swung the pickaxe, and it was a sharp one, and it went through the dirt much faster than he thought. Swung around with the momentum, hit himself just above the ankle, cutting his tendon right through. Okay, right through. I got pictures of it. They said for his healing, it was going to be at least 6 to 9 months before he'd be walking. They had reattached the tendon, and then to make matters worse, it came apart within a few days, so they had to do second surgery. So you're talking huge trauma to that ankle area. And so he came down immediately. He was in the States, Tennessee, and he came down and immediately started treating 3 times a day with this light therapy. And the swelling went down very quickly. The healing took place, and within 1 month, he was already walking on that foot, and I got videos of that. So whether it's that to somebody else who, now we'll go to the brain, stroke. We had the one individual, he's 80 years old. 2 months earlier, he had the stroke, and he was speaking with a really bad slur. I don't think anybody in this room could understood what he was saying. And anyways, I convinced him, good friend, but I convinced him, come on, just go for it, try it. He finally said, okay, I'll come down. So he put the helmet on. 1 4-minute treatment. That's 1 minute of the red, 3 minutes of the near infrared. The next day you could understand him clearly. We had another kid that, I have a video of it, that he playing a game, young kid, 12 years old, I think it was, fell, smashed his head against the concrete with another kid landing on his head at the same time. And so his parents took him to the hospital. There's no brain bleed, but the kid would say, why does my head hurt? And they'd explain.
Can you OD on this?
No, you're okay. So anyways, he says, why my head hurt? And they'd explain it to him. 2 minutes later, he'd ask the same question again. Like he never heard it. Or he heard it, but it's gone. And he did that for almost 24 hours. Apparently after 24 hours, they marked it as even more significant concussion. And he came down within a few days of the concussion, and he loves to read, but couldn't read a sentence. And dark room, no video stimulation, throwing up, all the traditional, signs of concussion. and did the light therapy with the helmet. And the next day, he was able to read a book. And he came back for another treatment. His other nauseousness and everything disappeared. Within a whole week, he was normal life. And concussions can take a long time. I just saw somebody at this show here that 2 months ago they had a concussion. They're still suffering from the concussion. Strokes, concussions, dementia. We got one individual who's here that reported their neighbor. I don't know if you heard the story, but the neighbor is regaining being able to remember names, going back years now and remembering things that has been totally vacant, gone, sterile, you know, not home kind of thing. So whether it's feet, whether it's, and the funny part is my chiropractor said, do you know about ED? And so he shared with me how he noticed a big difference, and then he decided to give it to his friend, and his friend reported the same thing. That's just with that light. So, hey, there's...
Well, much for the prostate.
Yeah.
Reducing inflammation.
Yeah, like
guys.
benign prostate and some of the issues there to, all different kinds of things. So just curious, how's that now? Try it.
Pretty good. Gone.
Yeah. Well, another fellow there. He's
because I did have a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was sleeping. I was sleeping. I had my arm tucked in around. It swelled up like crazy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like crazy in the ice, but I've been working on it, and it's been good, right? I got a little better, but it's I'm moving a lot of camera gear and lighting gear right for the show and stuff, so it kind of got a little flared up again, but feels good, yeah.
Well, another individual here, they've had tennis elbow they've been battling it for quite some time, and he's like, come on, this is crazy. I've been trying to get this, and it's not hurting me anymore, so. Yeah, that's the kind of things that
Ladies and
like.
Gentlemen, sound and light. And Tom Kerber.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was really good.